Hello, everybody. Welcome into Fresh Takes here. Russo and Felice. I'm Paul Russo. Nick Felice, as always. Nick, we're back to our live stuff here in terms of the stream after a week of recording. You were gallivanting about Sodus Bay Heights, I believe, right?
Last week.
You're a traveling man this time of year, so. But how are you doing? Literally been over a week since I've seen you, actually. So
yeah, glad it's a little warmer this week. It was a little below average last week.
Yeah,
it was pretty cold at that golf. Not gonna lie.
At least you're in a cart.
Yeah, I wore my shorts that day though. Oof. Got a couple comments from a couple parents.
Yeah.
There was, the old little cold for shorts today. But deal with it. Don't really get cold in my legs too much. It's more of my upper body, so it's still too cold. But I'm glad it warmed up. It's supposed to be even warmer tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, possibly the last. I don't know about the last. There's always that week run in November where you get nice weather again. But yeah, I think the window of golf, as we call it. I know you said you think it might be the last time you get out. I'm trying to get out. I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, possibly that last run of really nice stuff coming in.
Yeah, especially for golf. But remember one year there was Christmas Eve was 60 degrees that one year. But so there's always a chance of one day of a 60-degree day. But golf, it's probably it tomorrow.
Yeah,
I am going golfing tomorrow, so could be it.
Oh well. Let's diverge off and handle some podcast business here quickly, if that's all right with you, Nick.
Yeah.
We'll start by thanking DeSanto Propane. DeSanto Propane, 4 generations strong, is a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. You can go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more information or call them toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane. And Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, DMD. Dr. Jeffrey Halstead has been candidate with hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. Visit them online at candidatewithdentistry.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram today. All right, let's get on into this, Nick. NFL Week 6 in the books, and let's start here. The champagne popped a little bit early, I think, for the 72 Dolphins than normal.
Yeah.
No more undefeateds. San Fran lost. Eagles lost. That's it. We're back to having, officially, defeated teams all across the NFL.
Still got a winless team out there. And
they're on a bye this week.
The old Panthers. But, yeah, definitely a lot earlier than expected, especially even with the Niners and Eagles matchups this week. You thought they would really have no problem, but that's why they play the game. And it was definitely an interesting Week 6, I'll say. A lot of upsets, a lot of unexpected results. My Giants almost pulled it out Sunday night. Pretty crazy game. I honestly will say about that game, I'm not getting at the goal line at the end of but right before halftime was way worse than the end of the game. And then, of course, there's was it a hold? I mean, he was definitely holding Darren Waller at the end there, but it's like those type of situations, like calling a foul when they drive to the hoop at the last minute. It's almost like the refs do not want to call anything at that moment. But
and my main thing with that situation too is not to be whatever about it, but I don't know if it was being gun shy from the first half to a degree or anything like that, but you have arguably one of, if not the best running backs when healthy in the NFL, right? In Saquon Barkley, I think he's number 2. That's a different discussion for a different time, right? But either way,
who's one?
Nick Chubb. But he's not healthy. I guess Saquon, he's healthy right now.
Nick Chubb is definitely not healthy right now.
But either way, I don't get why they didn't just. We literally went over this. We did it kind of jokingly, but we're serious when we say this. We really just went over it the past 2 weeks in different scenarios with different people, right? Just hand the ball off. I'd rather run that risk there than then frankly, look, he was held. There's no way around that. But I'd rather do that than leave it up to honestly a human judgment called by a ref in that situation. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know. I still feel like, at least with that game in particular, I think it's more indicative of maybe where the Bills are at the moment. And I don't think the Bills are obviously a bad team, but like it's very apparent that as an offense that, for lack of a better term, the term I'm using with them right now, it's just constipated for whatever reason. And look, it's a pretty wide gulf, and I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's a pretty wide gulf from Diggs, who's number 1 on targets and receptions, to even Gabe Davis at 2, and even more to whoever's at 3, who I think might be Dawson Knox, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, there's just a really weird distribution thing going on, and I get, like, you have a number 1, you have to go to the number 1 and everything like that, but, like, the gulfs are the jarring part of it. And, the trade deadline is in, 12 days now or 13 days, whatever it is now. More or less 2 game weeks, right? We're 2 game weeks away from the trade deadline. Yeah. And, if you're the Bills, what do you do at the deadline? I don't know, but I think it goes back to maybe my point kind of with the Giants as a whole too. Circle back to them for a second. Is it's pretty apparent that there are pieces on that team. I just don't know what went sideways this year compared to last year. I mean, maybe the schedule to a degree, maybe not, but the same token, they went and got Justin Poe off the couch, if you will, who, when he was obviously playing full time, as I'll call it, very good offensive lineman, but I don't think he's played in over a year, if I recall, right? I mean, he never technically retired, but he hasn't played in over a year. And, the fact of the matter is, obviously, he's not going to provide a ton of overall help. I mean, he's probably better than, do we dare say the name of Evan Neal? But, we know that line is obviously, unless you're a crazy fan, that line has been the root of a lot of problems so far for the Giants, right? And that defense, not quite where they thought it was probably going to be. But there are clearly pieces on both sides of the ball that you can at least move forward with. And I don't want to make it sound like the Giants just need to scrap the year, but they kind of have to probably at this point to a degree and just improve on those spots that coming up in the offseason. Look, they aren't dead by any means yet. Plenty of football left. I mean, I know they're 1-5, but like in an NFC East recently where, outside of, I guess, the past couple of years with Philly mainly, it's been a division the past handful of seasons you've seen teams at or below 500 make the playoffs. Yeah. So anything's possible.
Yeah, I thought Saquon did a great job for what he had in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, he was making some moves that, showed, I mean, just an 8-yard run was impressive because of how struggling this offensive line's been. So it definitely was a struggle. I mean, you mentioned the Bills' struggles on offense a little bit lately, especially the last 2 games.
Oh, I mean, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's just like it's kind of a terrible game, to be honest. And the ending was exciting, but overall, it was... I
mean, the exciting parts of it ended up being the not fights, but the hold me backs for the most part. Outside of, I guess, a couple kicks by I know Lawrence had one. And I don't know. I think there was a Bills lineman who tried to kick somebody too when they were down. I don't know. Either way, just like that was the most exciting part of the game was just the guys going at it for a little bit.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, I forget, what's the offensive coordinator that people don't like? Buffalo?
Oh, Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, it's almost like, is he back on the,
I think he's got to be.
On the hot seat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how much longer are they going to go with him? I know a lot of Bills fans that do not like this man, so, I mean, I don't know much about it, but...
Here's the thing that Bills fans are going to need to understand. You don't have a defensive coordinator, right? Sean McDermott is calling the shots. That hinders what you can do with Ken Dorsey at this point. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but if you want to change, it ain't going to happen until February or March, I don't think, because you don't have a DC. You fire the other coordinator. I I guess you could promote from within technically, right? But usually what happens when you fire a coordinator, you promote from within, obviously, you name an interim, but usually the head coach is the one calling the shots at that point. And I don't think McDermott wants to be calling both sides of the ball. I don't think any head coach of any greatness level, right, whether it be Belichick to McDermott to, Parcells, anybody, you name them, right, at any point in time, wants to be calling shots on both sides of the ball. I just don't see that happening. And I think it's got to be a thing where they got to sit down with Dorsey maybe, if the front office is be like, hey, like, we figure this out. Like, you're going to have to, because we just don't have any other option at this point in the year. I guess you could fire him, right, in theory. I guess there's people out there you could hire to bring in, but I just don't think that's a smart play either.
What happened to the running game, too?
Yeah, the past couple weeks.
They start off awesome.
Well, to be fair, this past weekend wasn't bad. James Cook got the 71 yards. Latavius Murray, I know, chipped away, had, I think, somewhere in the 30 to 40 range, if I recall right. Their run game collectively has been good this year. Just actually outside of Josh Allen, when it's in the red zone, they just haven't found the end zone too much. I think Latavius even has more touchdowns than James Cook on the ground anyway. I don't want to do the thing where we just pin a lot on Stephon Diggs. I don't think some of this is necessarily on him, but I think the stuff with him in the offseason, as much as they tried to downplay it, was real, and it became a focal point of what they tried to do so far this season. And I think it's rearing its head a little bit right now, just by the way that they're forced to kind of do these play callings. And, I know they try and downplay it still now, but, like, the fact of the matter is, like, there are moments in every game where even he's on the sideline, and it looks like he's about to freak out for some reason.
Who the Bills play this week?
They are in New England this week.
Okay, you're probably not going to notice it. You didn't notice it last week. Those injuries they've had on defense, you're just not going to notice it against the Giants and the New England this week.
Right.
But when they start playing some good
well, I'm sure. They
you're going to really notice those injuries.
They have a run coming up where it was a concern point for me, honestly, at the start of the year. And I don't think it is necessarily as much now, but it's like you come off of the game in England, you had a Sunday night game, you have a Sunday afternoon game this week. Their Thursday night game is coming up. I don't know if that's next week or the week after, but they don't have a bye for another few weeks either. I just think the way a lot of the stuff is kind of stacked up on them, not great. I think this is their second to last 1 p.m. game, too, this year at the moment. So that's pretty telling. I don't know. Let's get through a couple other games here. The 49ers, I do want to talk about them. I think we had our quote-unquote, and I hate phrasing it this way, but yearly Christian McCaffrey injury pop up. Debo got hurt as well, and that obviously hampers a team when your two biggest offensive weapons go down. And
the offensive lineman got hurt there too,
right?
He came back.
Yeah. And against a Browns team that, look, defensively, and this is where I'm not afraid to say some of this, like, defensively, the Browns probably are the best team in the NFL. Like, they do things defensively, especially up front and in the secondary, that a lot of teams wish they could even be remotely close to. Offensively, obviously, they still don't know what the deal is with Deshaun Watson for this weekend.
Mark Cooper's done good.
Yeah, all things considered, P.J. Walker, I thought, did fine.
Better than that guy you watched.
Yeah, DTR. Poor kid. But, for the 49ers to go out there and even then, in my mind, have a game where, look, maybe you don't cover. I think the line was like by game time closed at like 10 or 10 and a half. Like, maybe you don't cover that 10 and a half. That's always tough in the NFL, but that's a game you should win. Mm-hmm. And for them to kind of lay an egg, and I get that they had injuries and everything, but for them to more or less kind of let Cleveland really just control the game doesn't leave me with a great feeling should McCaffrey miss extended periods of time, or Debo, or, you want to go through the line. Even a guy like, if it push came to shove, like Brandon Ayuk were to go down again. Like, this is a concern. I don't know if it's an outright concerning issue, but it's definitely something I think we need to keep on the radar with that team.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what the guy's first name is. The offensive lineman that went out, Williams.
Trent?
I think that's his name.
Yeah, former Washington.
He's like the best offensive lineman in the league.
Yes.
Yeah. He went out there, and we saw a little bit of what Brock Purdy looked like when he didn't have an offensive line.
Well, but that goes back to my point at the beginning of the season where they trade away. I already forget his name. How bad is that? Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Right?
Yeah.
They trade away Trey Lance, and I'm like, I can understand if you're not necessarily sold on him, but like the fact that you're sold on Brock Purdy is equally as concerning to me, because like, it's one thing to catch lightning in a bottle, it's another thing to contain that lightning in a bottle and make a career out of it.
Yeah, he's got a great system there, and every quarterback's had a great system there. Jimmy Garoppolo got him to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah, you look
Kaepernick.
at
You want to go deeper into the Rolodex there.
The Niners have just had a great system for a while now. It doesn't matter what quarterback's there. And sure, I mean, it is just Brock Purdy's first ever regular season loss in his career this week.
Mm-hmm.
He's only lost twice in his entire career as the starting quarterback. So there's that side of it, and you're like, okay, he's done a great job, but it's also, he's played on a really, really good team.
Uh-huh.
They haven't won a Super Bowl, but they've been a very dominant team for a decade plus now, the Niners. And I don't know, it just makes you wonder, is Brock Purdy the guy? And he's the guy for this system, but imagine if they had like a legit quarterback, like a superstar quarterback, how good they could be.
Well, I mean, I go back to the name you brought up. I go back to a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who, he's not going to be the next Tom Brady like a lot of people thought he was going to be. But, like, I put him above Brock Purdy. Like, this is a guy who, I mean, at the moment has put the Raiders in a spot to at least contend for a wild card position.
Just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. But that portion of it's a different discussion. But the fact of the matter is, right, what we're saying is, if they had the next echelon guy, like, I don't think there's a lot of questioning them. I still think they're the best team in the NFL at this point. But they showed a lot of dents in the armor in that game against Cleveland. And I get it was on the road and it was not in great conditions and blah, blah, blah.
And they're a made field goal away from winning that game.
Right. And there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts with them at the moment. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think I'm outright wavering on them the rest of the way. But they have issues like every other team. That's pretty apparent now. A couple other games I kind of want to just like
the Eagles
bring up in passing, right? The Eagles, right, as well. Again, I think they have issues. I think they were a bit more, I wouldn't say glaring, but they were more obvious than San Fran's going into the week. What's interesting to me on the Eagles front is I think it speaks more to the Jets, maybe more so than the Eagles, especially again defensively. Like, that's just a really good defensive team at worst with the Jets. Great defensive team in my mind. Yeah. Probably the second or third in the NFL behind Cleveland. And I chuckle at people who think, and I get it, right? Like, I can understand, like, if you're a Jets fan, why don't they just go out and trade for Kirk Cousins? But, like, Zach Wilson's not leaving you in a ton of bad spots right now.
No.
And that's all you kind of need from him at the moment, especially if Aaron Rodgers is allegedly on pace to come back quicker than ever before.
The man's limping in those videos.
Yeah, but that's the thing I laugh at. You're like, oh, my God, he's throwing. I'm like, yeah, because you throw with your leg.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so the Eagles, that seemed like it probably should have been an obvious trap game when we were picking it last week, to be fair. But I can't really hang too much on that game. Like I said, I think the Jets defensively match up against anybody in the NFL, which, especially the way it looks to be this year, I mean, if you got a really good defensive team, like, that's going to be an end-all, be-all kind of stop, it seems like. Let's see. I know I picked Vegas and you picked New England last week, but betting-wise, you're either on the end of a really great beat or a really bad beat at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely incredible. But, yeah, I guess it's one of those, like, at least this week we aren't talking about how bad that offense is outright with New England. But I don't know.
Still not great.
No, not a ton to take away overall from there.
Are the Bengals back on track?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That was a big win. Seahawks
Big win, but there's a lot of coaching stuff again, kind of reared its head a little bit to me. So I don't know. I mean, that was another game where we zigged on each other. I went with Seattle because I just didn't trust Cincinnati, but yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, you asked a really great question there. I don't think they're back. I don't think I can trust them. Cincinnati's on a bye this week. I want to double check that really quick, but like. Yeah, I don't think I can. Like, it looks like playing-wise going into this bye week. Yeah, I think if you were to take some certain other portions of the equation out, like, I probably could. But I go back to that coaching part of it right now where even in that Seattle game, just don't know if I can with them. Just don't know.
Was unfortunate to see that Richardson guy go down for the year.
Yeah, officially today, got the word.
Got hurt twice?
Yeah.
I feel like he got hurt 3 times, but definitely twice.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Here's what I'll leave. I don't know how much time we got left in the NFL, but
it doesn't really matter.
What has Justin Herbert done?
You know what? I'm happy we should spend a couple minutes on this game period, by the way. Dallas and the Chargers. You bring up a good point, and
I think he's so overrated.
I don't know about so overrated, but he's a 500 quarterback.
No playoff wins.
No playoff wins. He's made playoffs. He's 27-27 in his career.
Is he really?
Yeah. Which is where it gives I'll give, my brother credit, Pat. I mean, he does not like Herbert at all. I don't think he's as bad as he thinks it makes him out to be, right? But, like, he might be ahead of the curve on this one. And, it's interesting because I think a lot of it, you look at the other people in that draft. And the other main one is obviously Tua. And it's kind of funny. Both have, albeit different, but both have health concerns, right? Both have had health concerns in their careers. But I feel pretty confident in the one that I would want out of the two at this point.
Tua.
And it's Tua, yeah. Now, to be fair, I don't want to do the outright devil's advocate thing here because I don't think it would make much of a difference, but Tua at this point has some better weapons around him. And I get Keenan Allen if he's not with Tyreek, he's probably right below Tyreek. But they miss a lot of time as well. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. But, at the same token, they aren't the ones helping themselves out there, adding additions and stuff like that. Chargers have done nothing to help Herbert a ton, to be fair. But
any blame on Staley?
To that end, yeah. Well, this is where I'm going to start kind of. Staley, I don't know if you fire him in season, but I don't know. I don't think you bring him back next year. I think there's going to be you're going to have to do a lot of deep thinking if you're the Chargers going into the offseason.
What are they? What's the record?
I think they're 3-3. No, 2-3, because they had the bye the week before. They're 2-3 now. Yeah, and especially in a division that we obviously know what the Chiefs are. Denver.
We know what they are.
Yeah, I can't get on board with them at all. And the Raiders, look, the Raiders at worst are plucky. You can't sleep on them. I'll call it.
And Max Crosby's so underrated.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
He's the only bright spot in that defense.
Yeah, it's a pretty weak defense, but he's very good on that defense, which is kind of crazy. You don't usually see a one-man show on defense, but that's what the Raiders are on defense.
Yeah, quite literally.
I just don't think they have enough. I still think it's a tough conference.
And I don't want to make it sound either like we think Herbert's a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's as good as we probably think he probably will be.
A lot of people in the
right?
media, they put him up there as like one of the best, like top, potentially top 5.
Yeah.
And hasn't done enough. I mean, he's got. You say he does. Yeah, I've been just looking back at the Dolphins and the Chargers, comparing them. It's not like the Chargers don't have weapons on that team. Mm-hmm. When Eckler's healthy, he's very good.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's he's been a wide receiver 1 forever.
When healthy.
Yeah, when healthy.
And I mean, they obviously
Palmer.
I was about to say they honestly have probably the best when healthy number 2 wide receiver 2 in Mike Williams.
Yeah, he's
again when healthy. Yeah, I don't know. Before we go to picks, I have a question I want to pose to you, and I have to give kudos because it doesn't come from me, but you brought up the in-division thing, so I want to go here for a second. Kudos to Josh Russo for bringing this up, asking me this last week, because I think it's a fair thing. Russell Wilson, okay, or Cam Newton? I'm not talking like Cam Newton right now, obviously. I'm talking
you're not talking Russell Wilson right now either.
Span of their careers as we look at it right now. Who we taking?
It's a tough one. Because as much hate as Russell Wilson has gotten over the last few years, he was very good.
Yeah.
When he was Super Bowl champion. Mm-hmm. He was very good. But so was Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, Russell Wilson never had a 15-1 season
right.
like Cam Newton did. The Panthers just made
collapsed.
They lost in the Super Bowl.
Collapsed, yeah.
They still made the Super Bowl that year. Lost to a Brock Osweiler-led Broncos team until Peyton Manning took over. But I don't know. That's a great question because if Cam Newton wins that Super Bowl, they have the same amount of Super Bowls. Russell Wilson should have too.
And they, to be fair, kind of tailed off in the same year, 2017, 2018.
They're very similar. Yeah. Definitely not similar style quarterbacks, but
it's closer than we think. But you are correct.
Yeah, but talent-wise, overall, what they've done for the game, they're very similar. This is a toss-up, but I will go Russell Wilson.
Really? I can't. Cam Newton, and this is part of a different thing, but like I love saying this. Cam Newton, greatest college player I've ever seen. Like in terms of like our lifetime with us watching, like best. I stand by that. Like the dude was just a different animal. And to be fair, I think looking back on it, like career-wise and at their peaks, I think I still got to take Cam in the NFL. I just got to.
He was a beast.
He didn't carry, but like he was the reason why the Panthers were like 15-1. Like that defense was good, but they clearly collapsed when it mattered most. I mean, you don't lose a Super Bowl 50-8.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever it was. They only had 8 points. I know that.
I think you got it mixed up.
Wasn't?
I think the Broncos lost 40 to 8, whatever, to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. Super Bowl 50 was the Panthers and Broncos.
Either way. But either way, Cam Newton, like I just think career-wise and everything, I got to take him over Russell Wilson right now.
It's a toss-up. I mean,
it's an interesting discussion, though, isn't it? Like when you think about it.
And Russell Wilson's still in the league, and Cam Newton's been out for a while.
Yeah, a couple of years now.
But they tailed off at the same time,
you
said. So it's a good question. But I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
Really? I just figured I'd throw that in there. It's an interesting discussion point. So, either way.
Now here's one I got for you.
Sure.
Garrett Schrader or Nathan Peterman?
We'll talk about that part in a minute here after we have our picks. So, 10-5 last week for me, Nick. 9-6 for you. We are knotted in the overall at 57-36.
I had like a 6-game lead.
Brutal. What happened? Try to get too cute?
Yeah, the bullpen's been killing us.
All right, so game 1, Thursday Night Football this week, Jacksonville at New Orleans. New Orleans, at the moment, is a 1-point favorite at home. Trevor Lawrence is expected to play as it stands right now.
That's all I need, Jacksonville.
Okay. That was my thought process as well. So, unfortunately for us, right, we don't know. But I'm approaching as if he's playing, so I'm taking Jacksonville.
I can't tell if this New Orleans Saints team is really terrible or decently good.
I lean decently good, but after last week, I don't know.
That's the thing with Derek Carr. That's how he's been his whole career.
Yeah.
He looks great at times, and he looks mediocre at times.
Right.
And that's what the Saints are.
Yeah. All right. No overseas games this week, Nick.
Aw.
Sunday at 1 p.m., Detroit at Baltimore. Baltimore 3-point favorite.
So I can sleep in. Detroit.
If that stops you.
Detroit at Baltimore. This is an interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
Lions are going to win this division this year, which is crazy to say.
Lions best team in the NFL.
I think so. But on the road, I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me to take. But I went Detroit. Baltimore, they don't do a ton for me still. And in theory, Detroit should have no problem with them. But in Baltimore, it does make an interesting game. I'm not going to run away from that, but I got to lean with the team that has shown me more, and I know I can trust taking them at this point.
You still got the Orioles in 3?
Yes. We'll get to that anyway at the end. So, Vegas at the Bears. The Bears a 3-point dog at home. Not going to have Justin Fields. I don't even remember the name of the guy that's quarterbacking. Vegas, though, who knows with them?
They bring back Caleb Haney.
I don't know. I'm going Vegas, though.
Damn.
Yeah,
That would put him 4-3, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Give me even though it's not Garoppolo though.
yeah. Go be Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah. Give me the Bears.
Wow.
Give me the Bears. As much as I like to see the Raiders win, I think the Bears are gonna win this game, to be honest with you.
Browns at the Colts. Colts getting 2.5 as of right now.
Still PJ Walker. But who's the Colts quarterback?
Gardner.
Browns defense is good. Give me the Browns.
All right.
Who are you going with?
Yeah, it's our first agreement since the Thursday night game. I'm going Browns. Even without Deshaun, I think if they go PJ, I just think
I feel like
a
Gardner's
little better team.
gonna make some mistakes at the end.
You would think. Buffalo at New England. New England an 8.5-point dog at home. This should be it.
How much? What's the line?
8.5.
I feel like it should be more. But Buffalo has not been impressive.
Right.
But I'll go Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that one would be a clean sweep for us. This one, on the other hand, I don't know will be, though, because it's Washington at the Giants.
Yeah.
Giants 2-point home dogs. Daniel Jones at least threw today at practice. I know he was no contact. But we have to pick in the now, so I'm going to take Washington as of right now. But, it's one of those things where I wish it was, Friday, so we knew a little bit more, because I feel like if Daniel Jones is playing, my pick would probably swing, to be honest.
This is the Chase Young game I call.
Right.
I don't know. Washington Giants is always a fun one.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I think Giants, they really didn't play great on Sunday, but I'll take
They played well enough.
definitely well enough to win. I'll take Washington.
Oof.
Give me Washington.
I figured you'd take your G-men there.
Nah, we're tanking for. I don't know if we're taking for Caleb Williams.
I don't think you
anymore.
want Caleb Williams at this point.
The Washington guy is pretty good.
Yeah. Penix.
Yeah.
Atlanta at Tampa Bay, the last of the 1 o'clock window, Nick. Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites at home.
Baker Mayfield was not happy last week.
Mm-hmm.
Give me who you taking?
I'm on Tampa Bay here,
Okay,
which
I'm taking him too.
shouldn't be a surprise. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm taking Tampa Bay here, though. Yeah, Atlanta's just, God, they're sneaky bad at this point.
Definitely sneaky bad for having 3 wins.
Yes.
Unbelievable. That was the worst 3-win team I've ever seen in my life.
They're up there. If they aren't, they're up there. So we're in Tampa Bay or something?
Tampa Bay, yeah.
Got you. Let's enter the 4:05 window. Pittsburgh at the Rams. The Rams are 3-point favorites at home.
I already know. This is give me. I'm not even gonna let you pick yet. I already know it's gonna be why, Paul.
Really?
Yeah. Say you're picking the Rams.
I am picking the Rams.
Why, Paul? Because you are a Steelers hater.
I am, but look, the Rams are. We aren't giving the Rams enough respect, to be completely honest.
We're not giving the Steelers enough respect.
They don't have a run game. Now, they get Deontay Johnson back this week.
Nice.
So it's an added weapon. Do we know the status on Freiermuth?
It don't matter.
Well, it might. It's one extra weapon for Kenny Pickett, right?
Here's the biggest reason why the Steelers are going to win this game.
Okay.
Because it's a home game.
That's true.
You don't think the Steeler fans are going to load up that Rams stadium? Oh, it's going to be packed with the terrible towels in that game. And as much as I love Puka, as much as I love Cooper,
Puka Nacua.
as much as I love Matthew Stafford, his team now to win, I think the Steelers are going to win this game.
All right, I'll keep it on you. Arizona at Seattle. Seattle 8-point favorites at home.
Arizona at Seattle. I go Seattle, bounce back.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kyler Murray's practicing apparently.
Really? Video games or real life?
Real life.
Real life.
So, I don't know. Yeah, either way, though, Seattle. I mean, bounce back, get it done at home.
Yeah.
Like it. All right, 425 window. We have 4 in that late window this week.
Wow.
So, 2 in 405 and 2 in the 425. So 425, Green Bay at Denver. Denver is a 1.5 dog at home. And I'm just going to get out of the way before I toss it. I'm taking Green Bay. It's a toss-up, though, but
It really is a toss-up.
I'm taking Green Bay.
Green Bay's young, mile-high city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why this, Paul, but I'm going Denver. I'm going Denver.
I don't think there's a bad pick there. Well, I think it's a bad pick there, and it's both teams. But, Chargers at Kansas City. Kansas City laying 5.5 at home. I'm taking the Chiefs. This is a Chargers team that I don't know if they're dead men walking, but like we were just talking about it. Like I don't know, and I don't think this is the right game to figure it out either.
Going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah. Sunday night football, Miami at Philly. Philly 2-point favorites.
It's a great game.
Yes.
Mike McDaniel going to be on again some interviews tonight.
Oh.
I'm going Philly.
Yeah. This is one that could go either way, but for good reasons. But I'm taking Philly. I think Philly at home, Sunday night.
Yeah.
Potentially, that's the coldest day of the weekend, at least up this way. So I'm not trying to do the weather thing here, but
Could be a chilly night in Philly.
Right. And then Monday night, San Fran at Minnesota in Minneapolis. Vikings are 7-point dogs at home. I'm taking the 49ers to bounce back, but
Same.
yeah.
A lot of bounce backs.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of road teams this week that I think have a really good shot. But
How did you do in college?
well, we'll get to that in a second. Your six teams on the bye this week, just as a reminder for people: Panthers, Texans, Cowboys, Jets, Titans, and the Bengals.
How will we live without the Cowboys and the Jets?
I don't know. Let's ask Aikman. All right, yeah, college. Let's get to college here. We aren't going to have a ton of time really to kind of dive into the way that we kind of maybe usually do. So we'll save the picks obviously here for a second. But I do want to start here, Nick. How about them Irish?
Good win. Obviously, deflating game coming in with the loss to Louisville. Right. But it's always nice to beat USC.
Beat USC? Just smoked them.
Yeah, you're right. We destroyed them. We owned them. Caleb Williams kind of hasn't looked great, but I still think the talent's there. Lincoln Riley loses another big game. I mean, I think this was a nice win as much as I love Notre Dame. Glad they got the win. I think the biggest statement of the day definitely had to have been Washington beating Oregon. What a game that was.
Right.
I mean, Washington, we're pretty confident that a Pac-12 team is going to make the Final Four.
They'll get one.
They'll get
for
one.
Sure. Yeah.
And right now you think it's Washington, but I think it's going to come down to whoever wins the championship game. I think.
Right.
So, I mean, we got time to find out who this one team is going to be.
Yeah.
For USC, I don't know. They'd have to win out, obviously, to have a shot still. I don't really see a path. They haven't been getting a lot of love anyway. They've kind of dropped in standings before they even lost. They've had to escape by some teams. I don't know. The Pac-12's crazy. They're going to be beating up on each other. I mean, I guess Stanford can come back from 29-0 down to take down Colorado, so that was interesting. But I don't know. It was a great win for Notre Dame, though. I'll take it. I think we still got a shot at BCS Bowl. We definitely have to win out. But played 4 ranked teams in a row. Went 2-2. It wasn't an easy stretch, but
No.
they got at least one big win out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people probably kind of forget about is, like, you bring up the schedule. Like, and you've been the one banging that drum probably the longest that I've heard anybody really talk about. Like, it's just they had a tough stretch. This is a tough schedule for them, period, this year. It just is.
For Notre Dame standards, yes.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, I know this is way further down the line, but the latest projection I saw them in a bowl game, I can't remember the exact bowl, but they're projected to be playing LSU right now in a bowl game.
Really?
Yeah.
I think for ratings, you got to have it. BCS Bowl?
No, I think it's one of the higher end, though, before the New Year's Six, though. So, yeah, I mean, like, this isn't a bad Notre Dame. Like, the people who thought Notre Dame was, like, bad was just like, I'm like, something like, are we really doing that? And look, this is a USC team that had to go to overtime to beat Arizona, had to come from behind to beat Arizona in overtime. And maybe Arizona's a little bit better than we give them credit for, which is pretty apparent. You look at the past month for them, more or less.
Washington State.
Right. I mean, they smoked Washington State. I mean, it wasn't even, we talk about Notre Dame smoking USC, like, Arizona, like.
Washington State wasn't in that game.
No, I mean, not even close. In Washington State, by the way, like you said. So, yeah. And look, the Pac-12, I think, has an equal shot at, like, the Big Ten at 2 teams in the playoff at this point, although probably not as – the chances of it actually happening are slimmer. I mean, it would involve Oregon and Washington obviously having to meet again in the Pac-12 title game, which the way they do it is possible. And at that point, obviously, Oregon would have to beat Washington, and in theory, Washington has to probably go undefeated still through the regular season to do that. Does that happen? I think they probably went out through the regular season, no problem, but you never know. It's the way why we play the game. So it'll be interesting there. You know, waking up and seeing Colorado get smashed after halftime was kind of great Saturday morning, I'm not going to lie, even though I did bet Colorado. You know, I think it's pretty funny.
What was the line in that game?
20, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Stanford's not good.
It's terrible.
There's no way around it. They're legitimately, or at least on paper, they are the worst team in the Pac-12. And it's, I know a lot of talk, obviously, surrounding Colorado, but this is a program in Stanford that also is it just flat out in a rebuild, right? David Shaw's gone, been there for.
Where'd he go?
Not coaching anymore. I think he kind of grew tired of it. I know he wanted to spend more time, and even though family for him was local, he just wanted to spend more time with them. And I get that. At a certain point, like for him, he's been a football lifer. It just time's come.
For the Giants job one time.
Yeah.
He potentially could have been an NFL coach.
I wouldn't be surprised, right? Like once, I think he still has like one kid in high school, and maybe once that kid gets out of like maybe college in a few years, like I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up again somewhere. But I think he kind of got burned out of it. I think he's like kind of working, kind of doing like consultant work almost with a bunch of programs. But like I don't know, I can't remember. Yeah. But either way, but that's a team, right? I mean, that's a team in a program that historically does have national branding on the football side of thing, and also in a ton of other sports. I don't want to disparage Stanford athletics like that.
Yeah, come on, they're good at girls volleyball, women's volleyball.
Well, no, I mean they for a while they were the stop on the West Coast for like soccer and wrestling and a bunch of other like Olympic sports. So that's a very attractive program still athletically, and they were put in a crossroads by none of their own doing, frankly, this past offseason, and this was a big win for them no matter what. And I think it's just because of a lot of notoriety. That being said, this is a Colorado team that came out of the gates really hot, and all of a sudden now in the back of my mind it's creeping up like, that under 4.5 win total for them is actually back in play. Because for them the schedule definitely does not get easier. It does not. So, speaking of not easier, Syracuse, disappointing again.
Disappointing. You
I
talk
don't-
about getting destroyed the other games.
I want to spend more time maybe next week on it because they're on a bye this week and coming out of the bye historically.
Called idle.
Sorry, whatever. Coming out of the idle week, Dino's not been great, and that's where I think a lot of the talk I want to do next week is on, probably more on that. But, yeah, Schrader's not looked great the past couple of weeks. I think there's something up behind the scenes with him, and when I mean behind the scenes, I mean health, that they just aren't talking about. I think a lot of it goes back to that opening hit he had that Clemson laid on him. I don't think he's been – I think there's an upper body issue with him. He doesn't look good throwing the ball again. And so I don't know what the deal is. And there's a lot at Syracuse I'm questioning. Now what helps is they are, in terms of strength of schedule, coming out of the idle week and the rest of the way for them, the 6 remaining games. Their strength of schedule in the 6 remaining games, 133 out of 133. They literally have the easiest schedule moving forward.
Oh.
So,
I don't know.
Look,
season's feeling just like last year.
yeah, I mean, but that's the thing with it, right? I still think they get to at least the 6 wins and they get to a bowl game, and that's maybe in the grand scheme of it still good. But the fact of the matter is, this is a team where I thought talent-wise this is an 8-win team at worst, and that's very apparent that's not the case. And I still think talent-wise that is the deal, but I think a lot of it comes down to quality of coaching and competency of coaching, and that's just not there. And eventually, I can't blame a ton on Jason Beck, first-year offensive coordinator. He's going to run into some faults, and that's okay for his first year. But head coaching-wise, that's where Dino needs to step in, and you're the head coach for a reason. It ends with you. Buck stops here. You know, you have LaQuinn Allen, who for 3 straight plays busted off double-digit runs on Florida State. And then they ran 3 deep passing routes all for incompletes. I get maybe throwing a pass in there just to throw the defense off the scent, but what are we doing? You know?
And I think you've wanted Dino on the hot. You've had him on the hot seat for a long time.
I don't know about for a long time. For a while, I was the Dino apologist of the group, and now I don't know if I'm banging the drum necessarily on it, but there are fair criticism to be had of Dino at this point.
Dino's been the coach since when? Since the start of this podcast?
Way before that. 14 or 2015.
Not about a lot of great comments about Dino Babers on this show.
Nah.
I think it's time. I think it's
The
time.
tough part is he has one more year left, allegedly one more year left on his contract, and that's next year.
They've honestly gotten worse, to be honest with you.
I mean, but that's the thing. I don't know if it's necessarily they've gotten worse or what. And I think it's fair. I allow the topic of depth to be used because I think that's a fair one to have. But at the end of the day, these are still all Division I athletes. There's got to be some sort of, like I said, buck stops here thing. And for as much as Dino talks about family and the Ohana and blah, 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 it's tough. It's a tough thing to kind of shake right now looking at this team where it's like they don't run as a family right now. Now, I'm not saying that the teammates just aren't there for each other. They are. Those teammates, they're bonded pretty well. But there's a pretty apparent gap between athlete to coaching staff. And that's where I kind of have a struggle point right now. Because, like I said, it's the competency of coaching where I'm most upset at this point. Yeah. You can't come into the past 3 weeks and only score 24 points. And I get you've played some really good teams and blah, blah. I get it. But UNC's defense is bad. Okay? Clemson's defense ain't what it used to be. Florida State's defense, I'll allow some conversation. I think they fly under the radar a little bit because they have their front end trumps a lot of the stuff on the back end issues, but they have 3 guys on the D line who will be in the NFL, whether it's next season or the season after. So by the end of the day, you only score 3 against Florida State. You only score 3 against, or 7 against North Carolina.
That's not gonna.
Come on. Like, this is the thing that I look at when the athletic department sends me email after email the past couple weeks about, hey, tickets are available for that Pitt game down in New York City. Like, I don't want to go down for that. Hell no. So, I don't know.
It's almost basketball season.
Yeah. How about that?
Gonna be a good year for Syracuse basketball.
It's your time. That's your time. We're coming upon it. All right, we are really going long today, it feels like. So,
not really.
No, not quite. We've been going for about 50-ish minutes, but
it was like 3:30 already.
Either way. All right, you ready for my picks?
Yes.
All right, my picks. So 2-3 last week. I got burned by my MAC brethrens last week pretty bad. So now 21-20-1 on the year.
You went what last week?
Twice, 2-3. So wow. I did my best to stay away from MAC this week, but there is one that creeped in. Either way, first game, Louisiana Monroe at Georgia Southern. I'm taking Georgia Southern -17. It's a very good team, and they're coming off getting smoked by James Madison. So I think there's a play there. Akron at Bowling Green. Akron awful. Bowling Green a little bit better than we think. I'm laying the 7.5 with Bowling Green. Ole Miss at Auburn. This is a bit of a trap game, but there's not a ton of great options this week in terms of bet picks. So I'm going to go Ole Miss -6.5 on the road. And then Colorado State at UNLV, taking UNLV -8. It's a very good running Rebs team in the Mountain West that I think we've been sleeping on. And my last one is App State at Old Dominion, taking App State -6.5. If it was a drier condition, it might be an Old Dominion play, but their rushing game is awful. It's going to be rainy in the Hampton area on Saturday night, so I'm taking App State.
You're going to win one of these 5-way parlays.
They're not parlays, but
technically they are.
Sure, whatever. All right, before we get out of here, championship series so far in the MLB. Phillies appear to be the best team at the moment, but the Rangers don't appear to be completely too far behind them. So I have a hard time leaning at the moment, not seeing either one of them in the World Series. But it's been kind of, I don't want to say disappointing, but the railroading in these games have been nuts for a championship series.
Is Kyle Schwarber the greatest hitter that bats under 200?
In terms of leadoff?
He's like the first guy ever hit.
I mean, he really does have like one of the most absurd stat lines. If you go look up his regular season, it's below 200 for average, but above 350 for on base and like above 4 for slug, I think. Like, it's nuts.
I think he has the most home runs and RBIs in MLB history while batting under 200.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's literally all his hits is home runs and RBIs.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. He gets a lot of bats for batting leadoff as well. But, yeah, I mean, the Phillies are good. I mean, you're just taking the regular season. I mean, regular season was the Braves. They won the division. Yada, yada, yada. But they proved it in the playoffs, and they proved it last year. And you look at the Phillies. Sure, they didn't develop a lot of these players on this team, but they're very good. Schwarber. You got Harper, who's proven that he is a phenom, was a phenom. He could still be.
He didn't die.
But he's proven like why he is.
Say it.
The greatest ever?
No. Well, sure, but
I mean, he's proven why he's
better than Trout.
He's living Trout's dream, though. I did see a clip on that.
Definitely.
You know, the fact that he's in Philadelphia where Trout grew up.
And they love Bryce in Philly. They really do.
So he's really living Trout's dream. You know, I did find out the other day, Trout does have one playoff hit. It was a home run. So Bryce has a little bit more playoff hits than he does. But, you know, him, I'm so kind of tired. I can't name guys off the top of my head right now. But there's the Stott guy. They actually developed
Bryson Stott.
They actually developed him. But
Alec Boehm.
yeah.
Johan Rijos.
Come on. Who are the stars of the team?
For the Phillies?
Trey Turner.
Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Craig Kimbrell, Nick Castellanos.
Castellanos, that's the other one. That's the one I'm thinking of.
JT Realmuto.
I mean, so yeah, they're loaded.
Garrett Stubbs.
Thanks for proving my point. They're loaded.
Brandon Marsh.
What are the Diamondbacks still playing? Come on, Arizona. What are they still doing here? Go home. It's over. Like, it was a nice run. Proved that you could beat the Dodgers, but what's so hard about beating the Dodgers? They haven't won a World Series in 1998. So, I mean, I don't really see the big deal. We expect the Dodgers to lose. Other than that 1 year, we expect the Braves to lose.
Yeah, Dodgers didn't have pitching at all.
No, this was not one of the better Dodgers teams.
No.
Even though they, record-wise, doesn't show that. But this was definitely not one of the better Dodgers teams.
Yeah.
Hitting-wise, they're kind of weak. I mean, Gavin Lux, losing him in spring training was a huge loss.
I mean, I guess once you kind of get outside of the Freeman,
The Chris Taylor.
Freeman and Betts thing. I mean, Muncy didn't have a good year collectively. Yeah, Taylor definitely did not. I mean, they brought in Ahmed Rosario and he was left off the postseason roster. Yeah, I mean, you're right there too. Yeah.
I just wasn't one of the better Dodgers teams, but it was still something for the Diamondbacks, who the Dodgers own, for them to sweep them in Dodger Stadium. It was impressive, but the run, the like you said, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
And the run is going to end here for the Diamondbacks. Now, in the other series, as much as I want to see Texas win, I would not count out the Astros these next couple of days.
The Astros is interesting. If they're
Scherzer pitching tonight?
Yeah. Javier versus Scherzer. Houston's pitching is not good.
We should see Scherzer versus Verlander.
It's just not good. No. That was my main concern with Houston all year. Was like their pitching was just not good, and they brought in Verlander, but I mean outside of that, I guess they brought in Kendall Graveman, but like pitching ain't what it used to be for them either. And that was my concern. That's my concern in the postseason right now. Texas. Look, Texas's pitching is pretty good, but like that back end of the bullpen is sketchy at best, and we know that from the regular season. They had the most blown saves in the MLB. So, look at Game 2. Chapman did his best to blow that in the 8th. So
Leclerc.
Yeah. But even then, Leclerc came into a messed up situation too. So, yeah, but Houston I could see getting a couple games. At worst.
Big game tonight.
Diamondbacks, on the other hand, at this point, they just I don't know. I don't know.
They have to go home.
Yeah.
Like even just an NBA, NHL series, it doesn't start until the road team wins. Diamondbacks got to defend their home field.
Yeah.
So, I want to give. How much credit are you giving to Bruce Bochy this year? Because I think he is one of the greatest to ever.
Yeah, I think you gotta give him some.
Great manager matchup here.
But they did do some stuff to revamp that roster even in the offseason that helped.
Bringing in that Maddox guy as a pitching coach.
Yeah, well, Mike was there with Chris Woodard though. I think people kind of forget about that. So
yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I think he does deserve some credit, right? But I don't think it's all just him. I'm not trying to make it sound like Chris Woodard was unjustly let go, but I don't think you could pin a lot. You could pin a lot on him, but I don't think you could pin it all on him. You know what I mean? But to be fair, if there's one team in the MLB that is kind of zigging while everybody zags on allowing analytics to do complete control, like Texas is kind of just like, we're going to do the money spend thing here while everybody does that and just hopes it sticks, and it has. It also helps that they have also signed quality guys in the end of the day, right? Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. Helps when you bring those guys in.
DeGrom.
Well, yeah. But it helps, right? You bring in those guys, right? Nathan Eovaldi, that that they're good. You don't need the deeper meaning on it.
Garcia, you get Young,
right.
You get these guys develop.
Homegrown, Heim, yeah.
Yep. They've become great players.
Yeah, so, yeah. Texas is an interesting team. They really are.
For Texas because I feel so bad for them and those 2 World Series they lost.
My guy Wash.
And especially the St. Louis one. Pitch away from winning the World Series twice against the Cubs.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
I feel so bad for him.
All-time great call, though.
His dad said it first.
I guess, but
he copied his dad.
Yeah.
What are you defending Joe Buck for?
I like Buck. He just gets pinned with awful color commentary guys. John Schmaltz for baseball, Troy Aikman for football. Tim McCarver as well before Schmaltz. Ugh. Repulsive.
But anyway,
Gross.
I'm rooting for Texas, but I think the Phillies are going to win the World Series. It would be something to see Houston Phillies again. When's the last time we see repeat World Series?
Right. True.
Where's reality? Reality, what's the stats?
We need stat boy.
When's the last time we saw a repeat World Series?
Can I quick Rolodex this really for a moment?
Well, I think it hasn't happened in this century.
No. It might be
Yankees in the 90s?
Might be Yankees-Dodgers.
When the hell was that?
77 and 78.
So before the last time the Pirates won the World Series.
It might be.
That's crazy.
Actually, no. It was 77 Cincinnati. Oh, boy.
And it's crazy how much we've seen that in the NBA.
Right.
But in MLB, which would be super rare, and there's still a decent shot at this. I mean, if Houston can figure it out in Texas, in Arlington, they can get back to work. Because I think the Phillies are going to go. Schwarber's he's playing really well right now. Pitching's unbelievable for the Phillies, and I think Phillies Astros is a potential of happening.
Okay.
You
Sorry, you're good.
No, I was just rambling.
I was right. Yankees Dodgers in 77 and 78. Bang!
Wow.
Trivia time, champ.
You're good, man. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. Thanks for that reminder. All right. Let's get out of here. Do you agree?
Yeah, man.
All right, fair enough.
Had enough.
All right, fair enough. So like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Nick, shout out for the week. You got one?
Yeah, double shout out.
Oh.
I shout out my brother.
A back-to-back double shout out.
Yeah, it's my brother's birthday on Tuesday, 6 days from now. But I'll shout out my friend Zach Briggs. It's his birthday tomorrow, too. So, yeah, shout out Briggs. Shout out Matt.
Birthdays all around.
October, baby. Oh, and it was my half birthday this last week, too.
Happy half birthday.
28 and a half.
Oh, congratulations. So we'll do this again next Wednesday. Good luck to everybody if you place those bets on our picks. If not, have fun on the fade. So we'll talk with everybody next week. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to everybody then.